Yes, so an official hello and welcome to Keepsake Declutter, our online workshop today to talk about keepsakes, memorabilia, photos, clothing, kids' toys and artwork, and heirlooms. Yeah, let us know in the chat where you're joining us from, what you're looking to learn today, and if there's something in particular that you're working on at the moment that you need some assistance with. So many of you have been to my workshops before. I really appreciate that you continue to come along. But for those who are new, hello, I'm Julie Cliff, professional organizer and declutter coach. Before starting my business 10 years ago, I was an executive assistant and administrator for 20 years. So helping people get and stay organized is something that I've always enjoyed doing. 10 years ago, found a group of professional organisers here in Melbourne and found that this is a thing, that people go into others' homes and help them declutter and get organised. So that's what I have been doing for the last 10 years. Married, husband, 2 teenagers. Everybody's out of the house today. It's always nice when nobody's home and I don't have to close the door or be quiet or whatever. I can just do my own thing today. And I do have a team of professional organisers here in Melbourne and a couple of girls down in Geelong. So that's how I've come to help people with their decluttering here with my business, Space and Time. So talking about space and time, it's all about conscious choices with how we use our space and time. So we work with people to declutter their spaces and manage their time and just come up with solutions and systems and processes that work for them right here and right now in their current stage of their business. I ran a business workshop last night, so that work is still coming out in their homes, so that they can be organized right here and right now for you and your family. So some things may have worked for you in the past to get declutter and get organized, keep you that way, but what's going to work for you right now? And we want to be very deliberate about that, very conscious about that, and working in how we want our lives to work right now. Let me know in the chat, as I've asked a few times. I will have a look at the chat in a second and see what's happening. What's your intention today? What are your challenges with keepsakes and memorabilia? And if you've got that in mind as well as we're going through the session today, you will find that changes of any sort are easier when you have a clear intention. We have another few workshops coming up over the next few weeks, so I'll share those as well before we finish up the session today. So keepsakes and memorabilia, we're talking about, as I said, photos, clothing, because those little threads and bits of fabric and thread can really tug on our heartstrings. Kids' toys and artwork and heirlooms. As well as travel mementos as well can be a tricky one, that you've spent your money on in a lovely location and you're bringing it home, but then finding that it's just gathering dust. So we're going to be looking at those sorts of things. We will touch on photos, but we won't talk about photos a great deal because that's a whole different kettle of fish and a whole workshop in itself, managing and organizing photos. But we'll also be looking at minimizing keepsakes and talking about the challenges along the way for memorabilia and keepsakes. Let me check out the chat. The chat says, hello, Christine. She's in Melbourne. Lots of handmade cards from my daughters that don't lie flat. That is a tricky one when they got bits and pieces stuck on them. Let's have a look at that. Thank you. Hello, Mary Lou, my amazing assistant. She's joining us from the Philippines. Hello, Lindley from Melbourne. Clear out deceased estate, her father's house, 4 bedrooms, 2 garages, 20 years of stuff. Yes, I did think that may well be why you're here today. Thank you, Lindley, for coming along. We will touch on some of those things as we go along. So as usual, and if you have been along to our sessions before, you would know the 6 steps of the space and time organizing system, which is just going to help us have a bit of a structure to our day and also a bit of structure for your decluttering journey. We are going to look at how we can stop the stuff. So stop more keepsakes from coming in, or limit the amount of keepsakes that come in, and also what we keep. The second step, your commitment to being organized. Third step is sort the stuff. Fourth step is things you no longer need. So that's the decluttering step. Then we're going to have a look at easy storage for your keepsakes, and then maintenance. How can we continue to manage our keepsakes well? So let's have a look at step 1, stop the stuff. So what is the big deal of having too many keepsakes and too much memorabilia? Well, we can feel completely overwhelmed. It can be frustrating. We can't find things. Wherever we're looking at these sorts of things, memorabilia and keepsakes, there's heightened emotions and attachments to things. And of course, all these items, often with keepsakes and memorabilia, we're not really using them. And that can be the difficulty. And they're taking up precious space. And sometimes our indecision on whether we want to keep it or not, or how we want to go about, what we are using, what we're not, what we're keeping, what we're letting go, we can become paralyzed and can't make a decision. So we want to break it down into little easy bits and pieces today to get you on your decluttering journey. So as mentioned there, it just can be overwhelming and we really don't know where to start. So this first step, stop the stuff, is a good spot to start. So let's have a look at some of the different types of memorabilia and how we can stop more from coming in. So if you're on a bit of a getaway, have a really good think about the things that you are picking up along the way, whether it's a magnet, a pamphlet, a sombrero, or a pair of Italian shoes. It's inevitably, it may not see the daylight again when you return home. So really be conscious about what you are picking up when you are traveling. Not to say don't pick anything up, but let's try and reduce the amount of bits and pieces we are bringing home from our travels and our adventures. And just remembering there, that last point there says your home is a living space, not a storage space. Keep this in mind when you're out and about and tempted to buy that trinket. How about items of interest and hobbies? I would highly suggest not picking up too many pamphlets when you're out and about. You might be at a travel expo or a disability expo or a craft or garden expo. Just again, be very diligent as to what you pick up and bring home. And if someone's offering you something, you can easily just say no thanks. You don't have to feel obligated to be taking the handouts that people are giving you at these places. I've been in many, many homes over the last 10 years where there's bags of these types of pamphlets from different expos that people have been at, and they've not even been looked at. So just have a bit of a think when you are at these special places and think about what you are bringing home. And I would suggest to, take a photo of the item rather than bringing it home. Of course, that leads to more and more photos, but that at least it's not a physical thing and it's not piling up in corners of your home. We can manage photos in different ways, and we have run sessions about digital decluttering, so we can share those links as well if you need some help with your photos and files and other digital bits and pieces. But yeah, perhaps have a think about that when you're out at these expos and garden shows and those sorts of places. So continuing on the idea with the first step of stop the stuff, family heirlooms. Now this can be a tricky one, can be very emotional, obviously, when you're working through somebody's possessions or somebody offers you something of theirs. A few things to keep in mind, that the items are not your family members. So yes, grandma may have used this brush, or this may have been her necklace, or your mum, or whoever it might be, but they are not your family members. So we can sort of separate the feelings a little bit between them, your family member and the item. The item certainly does hold a lot of emotions, but there can be a separation there. And also, you can say no thanks. Perhaps you are not the one that has to have all the family heirlooms. I do have a couple of bits and pieces from my grandparents, including a billiard table, but that's something that we do enjoy to use. But we don't have to keep everything that our family members ever owned. We can choose the favorite pieces. Don't have to choose them all. We can have a few pieces of crockery, or a few doilies, or a few pieces of jewelry. We don't have to keep everything that our loved ones have ever known. We can really curate those special things that we have in our homes, rather than it end up being a storage space and just bring everything that they owned back into our own home. We really need to have a good think about that. And the last point there is that it's your choice, it's your home. So I know I am talking about some very emotional things here in relation to family heirlooms, but we can try and be a little bit practical about it as well, as to what we bring home, or what we say yes to when we're offered these family heirlooms. Step 2, your commitment to being organized, is really about having a think about your commitment to being organized, as far as and reasons for hanging on to some of these things. Are you hanging on to some of these memorabilia, these kids drawings or kids cards, for validation, or a reminder of happy times, or a snapshot in history? Or is there some family pressure? Just have a bit of a think about the reasons that you are hanging on to these things, and ensure that you are hanging on to them for the right reasons. Yeah, we absolutely want to be reminded of our loved ones and those happy times and some snapshots in history, but we don't want to be weighed down by it either. I've certainly been in people's homes where half of the home is full of their a couple of generations of things, because they felt obligated to take these bits and pieces on behalf of the family, but they've got no room to walk around and to live their life right now. They sort of feel like they're living in a museum. So again, your commitment to being organized is about making time to get started, and just starting in a small way when we're trying to declutter and organize our keepsakes. So this might be 10 minutes each day, 10 minutes a couple of times a day, or a couple of hours. Sometimes we do have to do things in one big push, particularly if we're looking at a deceased estate. There are time pressures involved, and I have helped a number of people clearing homes ready to be sold, or they might have been in a retirement village, those sorts of things. So there sometimes are absolutely time pressures. But if you have the option to be doing your own things, highly recommend starting to downsize and declutter as soon as we can, and just start off with small sessions, bits and pieces, and small chunks of time, and just be consistent with it. The third point there is reiterating what I was sort of saying before, that our memories are within us, not within our things. So again, we can just be hanging on to small mementos of other people's things, or past reminders of fun times that we have had, but we don't want our things to be weighing us down. So again, we're really trying to do an audit and be very conscious about what we are surrounding ourselves with, so that we can live right here, right now, in the present time, and have the space and the time to be living our lives as we want to now. Unfortunately, there is no magic wand for getting organised and getting through these things. It does take a bit of time, commitment, focus, and persistence. And it's something that we can commit to going forwards as a part of our lives, and start saying to yourself, you know, I am an organised person, and really catch yourself doing those organised things. You know, you put the scissors away and give yourself a bit of a pat on the back, because rather than dumping them, you've put them back where they go. For example, my teenagers, nearly 16 and 19, they're pretty good around the house. If they spill something, they'll give it a wipe and tidy up after themselves. And I do try and praise them, even though I can still see the mess that they've left behind. But they're certainly making an effort. But we can catch other people around us doing good things, and also pat ourselves on the back and tell ourselves that we are organised persons, and continue to do things that organised people do. I was thinking about this step last night when I came home from the workshop that I ran with the City of Boroondara. It was for small business owners about time management. And as soon as I came home, I was thinking, I need to unpack the bag that I took along with me, with my props and my notes and those sorts of things. And I was tired. It was after 8:30. That's normally what my wind down and get ready for bedtime. But I deliberately made the time to put my scarf away, to empty both my drink bottles. I did just put my notes on my desk, and I've unpacked them properly this morning. But I put my car keys back where they should be, my phone back where they should be, and I took another couple of props with me, so I put them back. So I was pretty well unpacked. I could have easily just dumped that bag as soon as I got home, but I was practicing what I preach and doing what organised people do. And that is one of those little things, is, you know, to unpack when you get home so that you're ready to go out the next day. So this step, as I've said a few times, is all about making being organised a part of your daily life, and a part of something that you do, and that keepsakes are a really important part of that, and honouring them, and honouring the as I say, the time that you're looking at, or the person, or the event, and making that an important focus of your everyday life. Let's have a look at the chat before I move on to step 3. Come on, chat. Yes, Lynn just said Dad's paintings, he's painted himself, and they're framed there. That will be an interesting one to see what you decide to do with them, Lindley. And yeah, it's that some of these things can really tug on our heartstrings. And have you got any thoughts on what you're going to do with them, Lindley? Oh, I can't hear you. Are you typing, or? She'll write us a little note.
Hi, I'll just have it. It's easier to say, if that's okay.
Of course.
I've offered to give them to my auntie and my brother, like one each, to pass on. And someone had a good suggestion, because they're in Queensland, I'm in Melbourne, is take them out of their frame and you can roll them up so that they will travel better. Might be a good idea. And then they're not as difficult to manage, because they're quite big.
Yes. Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
I think there's about 10 of them.
Yep. Beautiful. Great. It sounds like you're on the right track, and getting some good advice from those around you to make the task easier after. As I said, it's an emotional time, and also the fact that it's Queensland and you're down here. So yeah, good luck with that. Thank you. Step 3, sort your stuff. So this step is all about starting to sort things out so that you can see what you've got, and not be making any rash decisions or anything just yet. We're sort of putting like items together so that we can see what we've got. Like, for an example, if this was a kitchen decluttering session, I'd be talking about, go through your utensils drawer and put all your spoons together, and all your knives together, and all your 7 vegetable peelers, like in my drawer here at home. And then you can see what you've got. The same can be done with our travel memorabilia, or our photos or the kids' artwork. We can just start to make sense of it by, if it's the travel memorabilia, for example, sorting it into years or the country that the photos or the memorabilia was that came from. Sort photos by decade or family member, or perhaps by the kids' artwork. You could be sorting it in this particular way. This is my son Charlie's artwork and schoolwork that I did a little while ago. Sat down with him and sorted it into a few different piles, or I did a lot of the sorting and then got him to come and help me. So this is sorting kids' artwork, and the same sort of thing can be done when you're looking at other memorabilia and keepsakes around the home. So we just grabbed the paperwork and was just sorting it into 4 piles, which was recycling, which I'm pretty sure was the top left-hand corner. Definitely keep was the bottom right with that funky little fox, stripy fox there. Tell me more about it. Had a pile for him to tell me some more stories about it and perhaps capture them in that way. And then we had an unsure pile as well. So that was specifically in relation to the kids' artwork, because we only keep this much each year. And I'll show you another picture of it in a second. It's just a plastic box that you get from Office Works or wherever. And that's all we keep each year. The last few years, we haven't even kept that. Being in high school, they don't have so much of this stuff to bring home. But if you've got kids' artwork or grandkids or, you know, bits and pieces around the home, a sorting process like this can be helpful, just to, as I said, take the emotions out of it a little bit. Because when you're going through things like this, I always think that not all keepsakes were created equally. So like you might have a recycling pile, you might have an unsure pile, and you can come back to it and keep editing as you're going through, but you can get rid of the easier things first, like the recycling, and continue on like that. But as I said, this step 3 was all about sorting and getting some idea of what you have got. And if you were going through an estate, you know, starting to get the paperwork together, starting to put the photos together, you know, you'd be able to find bits and pieces, perhaps old newspapers, recycling rubbish, some of those quick, easy wins that you might be able to start with, clearing the floor, those sorts of things, just to sort the space out so that you can see what you've got, which makes it easier for when we get to this next step, step 4, things you no longer need, can really help the decluttering process when you've got things sorted out. Because if you've got just a pile of paper, I should have kept my pile of paper I had before, rather than just have this big, you know, chunk of paper. Some neat and organized piles are certainly easier to decide what to keep and what to let go from. Let me have a look at the chat again. Excellent. Lindley says we use a grouping in a very cluttered study. It's a great way to do it. And she also said that she has a display folder for the grandkids' artwork. I've seen that folder and it works really well to be able to, you can display it for a little while and then it's got somewhere to go to afterwards to keep those special things. And hi, Rosemary, thanks for coming. Rosemary says, in a group last week, we talked about scanning of photos and then discard. I love the idea. You can scan on your scanner. You can buy actual photo scanners, not just your computer scanners. And also,
no, you can use a phone. You can use there's an app for the phone,
app on the
which
phone.
is really fast. Yeah.
Excellent. And you just take
I'm
a photo
not a fan of that.
Yes.
Because I don't enjoy looking at things on screens.
Yeah.
And that's why I say the second thing is that making an album.
Yes. You could print
People
it out.
really enjoy sitting and looking at an album, but
Yeah,
they won't
nice.
go back and look at that box of pictures very often.
Yes. Won't look at the box, but you'll be happy to flick through the album.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Thanks for sharing. That's great. All right, let's keep moving on things you no longer need. Let's have a look at gifts. Gifts can be quite a difficult one to let go, but have a think about this one. And I need to read it because I always say it backwards. If somebody gave you, no, I still got it wrong. If you gave someone a gift, and they no longer wanted it, would you expect them to hang on to it? If they didn't like it, perhaps it's not their style or not the right color, or they already had one, would you expect them to hang on to it? And would you expect them to keep the gift forever? So that might help you. And I would think you would say no to most of those things there. You wouldn't expect them to hang on to it if they already had one, or they didn't like it, or it didn't suit their house. And you wouldn't expect them to hang on to it forever. So we can think like that as well. When somebody gives you something, it is yours. You are welcome to do anything you like with it. Hopefully you do like it and you do want to keep it, and it's a part of your life and it makes you think of that person. I was just taking a photo of my little elephant this morning. A client gave me, come here, elephant. I just took a photo of this morning. Here he is. My client Tess gave me this a few years ago when she was in Thailand. I took a photo of it this morning and sent to her and let her know I was thinking of her. So gifts are sometimes awesome, but I don't give gifts because sometimes they're not so awesome. But anyway, that's my thoughts on gifts, and just thinking about, as I said, if you gave someone a gift, would you expect them to hang on to it forever? And then vice versa. Perhaps you might make it a little bit easier to let go of gifts. So many times I'm with clients, they go, oh, my mother-in-law gave that to me, I couldn't possibly get rid of it. And then they put it in the back of the cupboard and it's never used. So just have a little bit of a think about that. Here's my son, Robbie, and I. And I'll use him as an example in a second about changing your perspective about how we look at our items. Again, thinking about keepsakes and memorabilia that maybe, as I said, they're not always as important as others. There might be some that are more important, and they might not be important forever either. So we are allowed to give ourselves permission to let go of keepsakes and memorabilia. And sometimes we can get stuck in our ways. Like I said, oh, you know, my mother-in-law gave it to me, I couldn't possibly get rid of it. Yeah, I don't believe in that at all. Anyway, we'll continue on. But have a think about, as I said, changing your perspective in relation to keepsakes, memorabilia, and gifts. And maybe this little story that Robbie actually wrote as a post for our social media a few years ago, to let stuff go as like a teen. So here is Captain Risky on a photo, little bobblehead person. We acquired him. He just turned up at home. I think I bought it home from an event that I was at. And Robbie just didn't want it anymore. And my husband was absolutely amazed by it, going, why would he not want it anymore? Like, you know, it's his, he should keep it. But I don't agree with that. And Robbie obviously didn't either. And I had a chat with him, and we sort of thought that, you know, if Captain Risky had some tattoos, he was all dressed in black and he had a black crow in his shoulder, maybe he may have had a little bit of a chance of hanging around for a little bit longer. But when Robbie wrote this, I think he was about 16 or something, you know, Robbie just outgrew Captain Risky. He wasn't as cool as he once thought he was. The last stop point there says nothing is forever when you're a teen. Robbie gives his room a good clear out once a month, and it seems like changing his mind and his decor is a prerogative of a teenager. And I think we can all take that and have a bit of a think about that, trying to let things go like a teen, that we don't have to hang on to everything. Again, please do hang on to those important things and let's honor them and put them on display. But again, bye-bye, Captain Risky. He's been gone for a while, but it's nice to see him again. And again, we've got that photo now. He pops up every now and then, and we have a bit of a giggle about Captain Risky. All right, let's have a look at some questions to ask ourselves when we're looking at keepsakes and memorabilia, because we're still trying to let things go. This is the decluttering step, things you no longer need. So you can ask yourself how you want to live your life. Do you really want every inch of your home, you know, filled with stuff crammed into space bags, you know, those vacuum bags that we use? Share heirlooms with other family members. As I said, perhaps you don't have to be the holder of all the keepsakes, share them around. And then think about the idea of repurposing or upcycling, nearly forgot what the word was, jewelry or photo frames. If you're a crafty person, you can reimagine some of these keepsakes into something that you can use. And the last stop point there says keep one if there's multiples. If it's a tea set or Christmas decorations, choose a few of them to keep. You don't have to keep every item that that person ever owned. And I often I say that to my clients with their kids' artwork as well, that we don't have to keep every squiggle that the kids have ever drawn as well. And of course, have a good think about where we can donate things. These are some places here in Melbourne that we can donate things, and there's so many places around that people don't have stuff. There are babies that don't have clothes, and that's in our wonderful city of Melbourne. So let's donate some of these keepsakes and memorabilia so that people can actually use them rather than be stuffed in the back of a cupboard somewhere. And that second point there says there is far more joy in giving things away than can be ever found in owning more. And that's from the website Becoming Minimalist. So I'm sure you'll find a bit of relief and a bit of release and a bit of weight off your shoulders as you start to let some of these things go that perhaps you're feeling like you should hang on to or must. And knowing where we can donate some of these things is a great way to do that. Let's look at the chat. Okay, thanks, Lindley. I will say hi to Robbie for you. Thanks, Christine, for coming. She had to head off. Appreciate you being online. Good on you. Thank you very much. Let's have a look at this step, easy storage for our stuff, because what we want to do here is to be able to honor the items. As I said, let's not go, oh, that's from my mother-in-law, and stuff it back in the cupboard. Let's honor it and make it accessible, make it easy to see, and also easy to remember the person or the special event that it was. And this step, easy storage, is deliberately called that easy. We don't want it complicated. It doesn't have to be expensive. It doesn't have to be fancy. Well, I would just love you to have your, in this case, have your Oscars on this photo, your Oscars on display for your fantastic work. We'll show some smaller ways to display our memorabilia shortly. But we want to make it easy to retrieve, easy to put back as well when we're talking about storing our stuff. So we might want to use some baby's clothes, or I've also seen this done with gentlemen's pajamas and shirts. Either yourself could make up a quilt like this, or find a handy person that would help you make a memory quilt like this for items, and be able to remind yourself of that little baby person, or as I said, shirts or pajamas for older people, and having a lovely way to capture those memories and those bits of memorabilia, rather than keeping all of those pieces of clothing. Then we've got a snapshot. And maybe you might have a little case like this to keep some of your travel memorabilia in. This is a purposefully already made up suitcase like this that you could keep your keepsakes in. But you could stick your own tickets and receipts and postcards and things and do some decoupage and make your own little travel case to keep your special things in. And it's a bit of a boundary as well. Like, we're only going to keep as many things that fit in this little box. So that could be a good one to keep your travel memorabilia. And then maybe we could take a photo, as Rosemary was saying before, take a photo, and then she was talking about printing it into a book. But what we have at home, this is a photo of our Google Home Nest that sits on our computer. It's about, on our kitchen bench. It's about the size of an iPad, and it looks at the photos in my Google Photos folder. Not all our photos are on there, just special ones we decide to put on there. And then they just scroll all day. So we have kids' artwork, we have special occasions like me dressed up here as the Pink Wiggle when we went to Kylie Minogue concert, and Charlie on the left. I look at the photo often and I have no idea where we were. Might be like Sovereign Hill or something like that. But these photos scroll all day. I hear what Rosemary's saying about sitting down and looking through a photo album, which is a great idea. This is an electronic version of that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And you can also have, if you've got little people, whether it's your own children or grandkids, these little frames that are hinged, they're quite more readily available online than when I first started doing this presentation. You can just look them up. And then you can put the kids' artwork in each week or something like that. And then when it fills up, you can move it on and either use it as wrapping paper or recycle or just keep the very special pieces. But they're a lovely way to display things. And this is sort of what Rosemary was talking about before, taking a photo or making a video of the special occasion. And then you can't print a video, but you could also print in a coffee table book like this one as well. And this is a tiny little sort of shadow box or display cabinet, just to keep tiny little bits of memorabilia. You know, once upon a time, our families had, you know, quite big display cabinets of all these sort of special things, but we don't do that quite so much, I don't think, these days. But this could be a little option as well. Maybe your latest trip memorabilia might go in here, or the little bits and pieces that you collected from Grandma's house of her cat collection or whatever it might be. But a little display case like this might be some good storage for your memorabilia and keepsakes. Or just as something as simple as this garland or, you know, bunting of photos. These just came from Kmart. You can, you know, change the photos and have them displayed on the wall or across the room, wherever you might have it, so that you can see your precious memories, and they can be interchanged quite easily, because again, we are talking about easy storage for your stuff. And this is the folder that I was telling you about that we keep the kids' stuff in. This is from 2020. This one I've got here of Charlie's. This has got all their reports in there, their school photos, and just a snippet of their bits of work. And again, since it's 2020, it's got all our lockdown dates from COVID in there as well, just as a keepsake, something that we don't really want to be reminded of, but it's all there in that one folder. So let's have a look at step 6, which is maintenance, which is how can we continue to be organized and continue to be diligent with our keepsakes and memorabilia? How can we put these sorts of things into our daily lives? A great way to do that is to be accountable, like share your decluttering journey with a friend and update them on the process, or get them involved, invite them over. You might even be helping a friend do theirs as well. Maybe you're going to go through the kids' artwork, something like that. You go to their house and then they come to your house, or maybe you do the same with photos. Get somebody that help you as a bit of an accountability buddy and share the journey with you. Second point there says just start. And we talked about in your commitment to being organized, just putting some snippets of time, literally planning it in your diary, not, oh, I'll do it sometime this week. Put it in as an appointment and then just start. Put the timer on, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, literally, you know, on your phone or on your watch, get the timer going and just start. And then soon enough, you'll start to build your your decluttering and organizing muscles, and you'll get better and better at it. But we just need to start now. We can't do the whole house at once. We can't do a whole estate at once. We can't do all the memorabilia in your house or all the kids' artwork at once or all the photos at once. You know, just like they say about one small step for, you know, mankind sort of thing. That's how we've got to start our decluttering as well. And that last point there says to remind yourself. So maybe you carry a little card around with you like this one. This says the goal is to be able to find whatever you want in 30 seconds or less. Maybe you carry something around with you like that when you're decluttering, to keep you on track, to keep the motivation going, so that you remember what this is all about, and thinking about how much of your memorabilia and keepsakes you want to keep. So that might be something that you use to keep you on track. So let me have a look at this summary. Was there something else I was going to say about maintenance? Yeah, something that popped into my head was probably something I could have mentioned back in your commitment to being organized, is having some good goals like this. What sorts of things that you are trying to achieve when you are going through keepsakes and memorabilia or an estate? You know, what is your goal? Like, have you got some ideas on how many boxes of things you might like to keep, or how many items you like to keep, or why you're keeping the items? We did talk about having a think about why you're keeping the items. And then again, what we were saying about finding some good places to be able to pass items on to that you decide not to keep. All right, let's have a look at this summary as we're wrapping up. I'll look at the chat in a second, but if you've got any other questions as well, we've got some time, we can have a look. The summary says, beware of the temptation to collect more keepsakes and memorabilia. Start decluttering something small, one shelf, one drawer, and keep moving. And sort like items together. Maybe, as I said, if you've got travel memorabilia, you put all the items that came from China or this trip or that trip together. Or maybe if it's photos, you might sort them by family member. Or if it's the kids' artwork, it might be sorting by artist. And then let go of the duplicates, let go of gifts you didn't ever like, donate baby items to people in need. And then something that I didn't mention before is in that bottom step there. It says, what is sentimental to you could be useful to somebody else. So again, that thing from your mother-in-law stuffed in the back of the cupboard is not very useful for you, but somebody could be using it every day in their lives. So we'd love for you to donate so others can use them. And also set a limit as to what you will keep before. Like I said about that little suitcase that was a picture of before, just keeping this amount of items, or, you know, so many photo albums, or this many pieces of jewelry. You know, give yourself some boundaries and some limits as to what you're keeping. Also, display the items that you love and cherish. Don't put them back in the cupboard. Store photos in a photosensitive box. Use labels and containers to make it easy to find things and put them back again. And return things to their permanent homes as soon as you've used them. 2 weeks' time, we are going to talk about garage decluttering. I did an awesome garage recently where it had just been used as a dumping room, almost like a hard rubbish collecting area. So that was fantastic. We could put the stuff out into hard rubbish and get that sorted out. But other homes, I know their homes might be very small and have very limited storage, so their garage does become an extension of their home. So we're going to talk about the 6 steps of the space and time organizing system in relation to decluttering and organizing your garage. And then 2 weeks after that, we're going to have a look at clear your space, double your time, and take control of your life. So it's a mixture of decluttering and organizing your space and your time. So the links for those are in the chat. Thank you. Lindley, she also said we've organized 2 men's sheds to come and take away from 2 garages. That's excellent. They would love that. Rosemary says t-shirt quilts are popular memory quilt for children. They're sports shirts. That's a great idea. Love it, Rosemary. Thanks for sharing. And Lindley says we're going to go room by room, and you've got 4 days. You be good. You will get a lot done in that time. Good on you. And I think that is, it says, is that the best way? Sorry. And there's 5 of us on the ground. Excuse me. I think you'll get a lot done in that time. You've got a really good idea on what you want to achieve and how to do it. You've got some hands on the ground. It sounds like you've already got some really good contacts as to where things can go. So I think you'll get a lot of that done. Excellent. Thank you, Mary Lou. She's put the link for the garage decluttering workshop. Clear your space, double your time, and take control of your life. Awesome. Did I miss anything? Is there anything else specifically that anybody wants to know? No. Yes, Lindley, go for it. Unmute yourself and go for it.
Thank you. It's just on the garage. I think we've got a lot of things planned, which I like to do in order. I've got a day sheet for every day with all the jobs that need to be done. We've had a lady on the ground delivering boxes to the house for us. But one thing that really took a lot more time when you do your garage workshop is getting rid of hazardous materials. Dad has got hundreds of bottles of, aerosol cans of paint, half empty paint tins, terps, all the garage cleaning, tool cleaning stuff. Then we've got all the chemicals for the car cleaning products. Then we've got all the house cleaning products. Most of them are open. They're half empty, half full, whatever. And I was really quite disturbed about it all because I think this is just so much hazardous stuff. What do we do with it all? We finally found a transfer station that's quite a way away from where Dad lives that will take all that stuff.
Excellent.
For us.
Oh, fantastic.
Because there's hundreds of bottles of stuff of all across all the 3 areas. But just a little tip to what we found out. The minimum charge for that was going to be $75 to drop hazardous waste. So as a resident of the council, we could apply for an application so we don't have to pay as a resident.
Okay. Yeah, great. Good to know.
Which was great. So we can actually, we're hoping, I've made the application and we're hoping we can just get rid of all that stuff free of charge now because Dad was a resident.
Great. Good to know.
But it's that hazardous stuff. I thought someone said, just throw it all down the sink. I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. You can't throw it in the bin. So it's very tricky, the hazardous stuff. But anyway, we found a solution. So fingers crossed.
Particularly in a bulk lot like that, because again, we haven't got time, but if you're doing it yourself at home, there are opportunities to be able to, give it away on some of our Facebook groups and things like that, but that's not relevant for what you guys are doing. So I'm thrilled that you've found somewhere that can go.
And I think what we'll do too, we are having a mini garage sale for 3 days. We're going to, like you said earlier, group them. That's just gold because we can put all the terps and the paint stuff together. We can put all the WD-40s and all that together. We can group them in boxes, and if people want to just take a box, they can.
That'd be fabulous. Yeah.
So just wanted to share that because it can be tricky. It can get very expensive with getting rid of, disposing of stuff.
Of course. Yeah. Thank you for that. Excellent. Anyone else got any other questions? Any of the steps or anything that we missed? Anything that we missed? Thanks, Christine. Christine says, Lynn, you're very organized. Good work. All right, we'll wrap it up. If there is anything that you want to need some help with, let me know, send me an email, julie@spaceandtime.com.au, and we can have a bit of a chat together, free chat, 15 minutes on Zoom. So anyone that's got any other questions that we didn't look at today, and yeah, there's the email there in the chat Mary Lou has put, and also you can book that 15-minute chat if you have something specific that we didn't talk about today in relation to yeah, decluttering and organizing your keepsakes and memorabilia. Thanks all for coming. Great to see you. Thank you. And yeah, look forward to seeing you in 2 weeks for the next one. Thank you all.